I'm Jenny Blackwood, a small town mom of four who refused to settle for a life that didn't light me up. When everything felt uncertain, I didn't run back to a 9 to 5, I bet on myself. I took a simple idea and turned it into an almost 7-figure business my first year, all while being a mom first. Now I'm here to help you trust your own power, chase the dream that keeps tapping your shoulder, and build a life that feels like you. This is Girl, Why Not You? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of Girl, Why Not You? I'm your host, Jenny Blackwood, and this show is all about the moments where people decide to bet on themselves, even when the path forward isn't perfectly clear. Because so many of the women we bring on the show didn't follow a straight line to success. They pivoted, they failed, they took risks, and those moments ended up shaping everything. Today's guest is someone who has spent her entire career helping people become better leaders, manage their workload, and lead in a way that actually works in the real world. It actually started with a dream of becoming an actress in Hollywood. After earning a degree in theater, she moved to Los Angeles chasing the dream. And like many people who pursue something bold, things didn't work out the way she expected. She eventually moved back home, unsure of what came next. But that experience taught her something incredibly powerful early in life: how to fail forward. And those lessons ultimately led her into leadership development, where she now helps others navigate challenges, build confidence, and create healthier relationships with work and time. Jenn, welcome to Girl, Why Not You?
Thank you so much for having me. And what a cool opening. Just like you captured all that. Yeah, I'm glad this is being recorded so I can come back and use that in the future.
Well, it's all you. It's all you. It's just showcasing your great efforts and work throughout life. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited for everybody listening to get to know you better. Obviously, after the intro, they're probably amped to understand who Jenn is. I kind of would like to start with something that really captured my attention when learning about you. So you originally moved to Hollywood to pursue acting.
Yeah.
That is so wild. I can't wait to hear about this. Can you take us back to that time in your life? What did that dream look like?
Yeah. I mean, this was a dream since I was a kid. I was always a performer. I'd been dancing since I was 3, got into theater at a really young age, was singing. I'm not that great of a singer, but I did some singing as well. And so it was always my dream. I got scholarships to go to school. I got my theater degree, and I knew that I was going to move out to California.
Yes.
So when I got there, I was excited. I had big stars in my eyes. My first job was probably not the best job to have for an actor. I was working for America's Funniest Home Videos.
Gosh, fun.
I know. It was like a 9 to 5 job, but I just really needed money because I grew up paying for everything for myself. I paid for school, paid for all of the things, paid for getting out there, and I needed some money coming in. And I remember having this job, and I was in a class or some kind of session with a casting director talking about tips.
Yeah.
Like how to get seen, what to do. He asked what kind of work people were doing, and I shared that I was working for America's Funniest Home Videos. And he's like, well, how do you go to auditions? And I'm like, well, I just got here, so I'm not really getting auditions yet.
That far yet.
Right. And he's like, well, auditions happen during the day. How are you going to do that with a 9 to 5 job? And he just grilled me and grilled me and grilled me and embarrassed the crap out of me in front of 100 or so people. And I'm in the front row. So after he shames me and makes me feel terrible, I'm just sitting in the front row, and we had a break, and I went to the bathroom, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I could just leave. Like, why am I going to sit
Why did
through
I do
this?
this?
Exactly. And then I was also like, well, if I can't handle this, there's going to be a lot more rejection happening.
Yeah.
And this is only my first month or so here. And so I went back in the room,
Atta girl.
sat in the front seat. And he actually apologized to me, I think, when I came back. And I just said, you're trying to make an example. Do you want this to hit home for people? And I get that. And honestly, it prepared me, I think, a little bit better. It gave me a bit more Teflon to be able to navigate some feedback like that in the future, because
it's tough. They are a different breed. They are just not very, they are very blunt about everything. There is no fuzziness or softness. So good for you. I mean, that had to have been somewhat crush it. I mean, here you are, you've come all this way. You're like, I'm going to live my dream. And like one of the first people is not very nice, making you feel stupid. So you go back in that room, you pick yourself up and you're like, I got this.
I got this. Yeah. And I sat through the rest of it. I have no idea what we talked about the rest of the session, but I sat through it. And I mean, that's just kind of the next 3 years were going to auditions, doing as much as I can, taking classes, constant rejection. And after a few years, I just thought, I don't know that I'm ever going to make it. And the people that I do know that are doing really well, it takes a really long time.
Yeah.
Some of them had been there since they were 15.
It's a marathon.
And I know. And I just did, I wanted connection. I wanted relationships with people. I wanted something more than just trying to struggle through. It started to lose its luster for me. And then I said, this feels terrible, but I think the best decision for me is to go back home and regroup and figure out what the next step is for me. And I remember calling my dad and crying about this decision and feeling so much shame. Now in hindsight, it was 100% the right decision for me. But in the moment, it was really rough. But man, did it teach me a lot about resilience.
Resilience. You have to be.
I mean, now I don't care. I don't care what people think because I've been through so much of the tough stuff, and I've worked in hospitals and I've seen some really tough things. It's not that tough,
right?
Like it's not that tough, and I can get through it. I've gotten through the other side before. It might feel icky, but I've really embraced that growth mindset. Can always get a little bit better. Tomorrow's another chance.
Yeah.
All of that.
So it taught you a lot about risk and rejection.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And if I hadn't tried, right, like that would have been the worst thing. If I had never even tried, I would see that as a bigger failure than trying and failing spectacularly.
Totally. Absolutely. So you went through you took a lot of risks doing that. You went through a lot of rejecting times. Like you said, there was so many different things you got told no. How do you feel like that kind of helped shape you along the way?
Yeah. So for me, when I came back home, I am a move to action person. I am not going to sit and stew in it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna recognize that there's some emotions around that. And then, okay, what can I do about it? What's within my control? Because if I focus on all the things that are outside of my control, I'm just going to stew and I'm going to spiral. And that's not helpful.
We need to just pivot.
Yes. Then it's what is within my influence, and then what's one or two things I can do to move forward.
Sure.
It's that action that builds momentum. When we can see momentum, when we can see some progress, it's motivating, and then it motivates you for the next step.
Love that.
So for me, it was, okay, I need money. I need to get a job. Let me get a job. Temp had worked for me in the past, so I got a temp job at a hospital. And it was that decision that sort of catapulted and spiraled into other things. Ended up working for this great woman who took a full-time job with her, could care less about the work, but they paid for me to go back to school. So I went back to school. It was just a lot of discovery along the way. And she was a great leader and a great mentor. And so it was helpful that my first temp job back ended up working for this woman, and it continued the trajectory of my career. And because I had done the performance, gone through the rejection, being in front of people and presenting has never, I mean, I still get nervous, but I'm going to do it. I don't even think twice about it.
Right.
And I know that's something that a lot of people are very fearful of.
Yes.
And it's something I do all the time in my business now too.
Yeah.
So that was another skill coming from Hollywood that really shaped my direction and what led me into the leadership development space eventually.
Isn't that crazy? Because way back then, like you said, when you were a little girl with sparkles in your eyes for acting, you had no idea that, yes, you would try that journey, but it's really just helped develop who you are as a person, as a businesswoman, all along the way. I think that's what people sort of overlook in life, is that every little thing is just another stepping stone towards where you're meant to be, where your true alignment is. And so for you went back home, you got this job, you had this amazing mentor and woman. So did you ever look back? Was there ever a time where you were like, man, maybe I should have stuck it out? Or were you just so crystal clear, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be?
There are certainly times when I'll be watching something and I see someone I know.
Yeah.
or I take my kids to shows, theaters all the time. I want that to be a part of their life. And I think to myself, oh man, I wish I was up there. Because when I came back, I still auditioned for things. I thought, well, this will be, I still love doing theater. I love acting. Let me do it as a hobby. And I did a couple of auditions and didn't work out really well. And my heart just wasn't in it. I had lost the passion for it. And I just said, I'm not going to force it. It is a lot of effort to be part of shows and things like that. So it just kind of went by the wayside, but I didn't regret it either. I felt
it shaped you. Yeah,
exactly. And I felt good being on the other side to support other people that were doing it. So will I ever go back to it? Maybe. I live vicariously kind of my kids. I mean, you just never know once they grow up and what have you. But they do theater camp every summer. I go take my kids to shows all the time. So I'm living vicariously through them.
And as a mom, that feels good. It feels good to be able to. I'm glad that you're doing it this way. I tend to do stupid things like buy miniature horses and things that I always wanted as a child. By the way, it got out last night. Everybody, the year of the fire horse for me means a tiny, stubborn miniature pony that got out. And I was literally chasing through, probably an hour.
Yeah.
Muddy, like barefoot feet through it. Just imagine this craziness. So yeah, that's my fire horse. But I'm glad that you're sticking to that because that's my childhood vicariousness through them. But I love this. Okay, so this is just, to me, it just really is a huge statement. Hey, like I had a couple doors closed, or I realized like maybe this dream I had put so much pressure on wasn't really where I was supposed to be. You were open. You were open to new beginnings. You were open to a door closing, but you weren't willing to just crumble. You opened multiple doors moving forward, which kind of leads to where you got now. So how did you eventually find your way into leadership development and organizational learning? Like that's a big difference.
It is. So when I was working in that hospital, I went back to school, and some of the classes that I took were around leadership development, the MBA program.
Yeah.
And the hospital also offered professional and leadership development courses.
That's kind of amazing.
It's really cool. And that's when I learned about there's like a department that's focused on professional learning for people. How do I get involved in that? Right? I gotta be the person that's up there. And I was doing a lot of coaching and teaching in my role, but it was more informal. It wasn't my full-time job. And it was in that I made friends with somebody that was working in that learning team. I expressed to my leader that I wanted to shift. So she started helping me transition into other roles. And I went from operations leadership to process improvement.
Okay.
Which, again, wasn't exactly where I wanted to be, but I was facilitating. I was training and I was teaching and I was coaching. So I was doing a lot of the things to gear me up for that learning and organizational development role. And when a position opened at a different hospital where I had a friend working, she got me an interview and they hired me. And so that was my first role as an organizational development specialist. And the woman that I was working for, she was really open to teaching me.
Wow.
She said, you have a certain level of skills already. You just need to know about the frameworks. You need to know about adult learning theory and all of those things. So she paid for certification for me. She helped mentor me and coach me. And so I ended up working there for a couple of years. And that was back in Maryland. And ultimately, my husband and we met there and said, you know what? We want mountains. We want the outdoors. So we moved to Colorado. And in that transition to Colorado, I got a new role leading a learning and organizational development team with the state of Colorado. Did that for a few years, and that was amazing. Sitting for public sector, just like this whole different mentality, different way of working. It was just fascinating going from healthcare to that. And then got a role as a director of learning and organizational development for a nonprofit Medicaid company. And I did that for 5 years. And all along the way, in the back of my head, I knew I wanted to do something on my own because I love leadership development. I love the coaching. I love designing workshops. Love facilitating. And when you get in higher levels of leadership, you do less of that because you're the one that's guiding your team to do that.
Right.
So a couple years ago, I said, okay, I'm going to start my own little agency practice for myself.
Good for you.
Solely on leadership development. And I help smaller, mid-sized organizations doing one-to-one coaching, workshops, speaking around leadership development, and team development, team building.
This is so cool.
Too.
Do you have like a certain niche? Like, is there a certain like type of company you tend to be drawn towards?
Yeah, well, initially it was healthcare and nonprofit.
Yeah,
'Cause that
yeah,
was really
where
my
you came from.
background. Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I found that we're expanding. So I'm working with a commercial construction company right now. I'm working with a nonprofit company that's in the propane industry. I'm working with convenience store, retail. In the past, I've worked with tech companies, project management software.
Wow.
It's really spanned.
Yes.
It's not so much the industry, it's these smaller organizations, maybe 500 people or less. They don't have learning and development. They
Yeah.
don't have a leadership development person, or they have a really small HR
Yeah.
team that's trying to do that, but it's hard to do that with everyone else. And so
Absolutely.
that's where I've really found my sweet spot is working with these smaller organizations.
So cool.
And the ideal situation is we do some one-to-one coaching at the executive and senior leadership level. And then we also do some teamwork with
Cool.
that group. And then we start spreading it to the rest of the organization.
Wow.
So there becomes this common language and culture around how we work. It affects
Yes.
bottom line, it affects engagement, turnover, retention, all of those things. And so
That is so
it's
cool.
been so rewarding. It's been very rewarding.
Proud of you for starting your own agency and
Thank
deciding
you.
like, hey, you know what? I could do this better for myself.
I
That's
know.
a really big step. And I'm sure, you felt ready. I mean, obviously you were already putting in the work, but for somebody else. So for you to be like, hey, now I have my wings now. I can fly and do this all on my own. That is huge. I will tell you, like, something that was like really bumping into my brain when you were talking is I think a niche or two that could be really amazing for you is mortgage and real estate. I have worked for some mortgage and real estate companies in the past, and boy, did they need some help with leaderships. But they're
Yep.
willing to pay. So just
Yeah.
food for thought.
Thank you.
It really struck me when you were talking about when you got that hospital job and how you kind of just saw, wait, there's this department. This is what I have to do to get there. The fact that not only does it seem like you kind of low key manifested that, but you also worked hard and took the steps to move from the position you had up into this role, something you knew nothing about, something that had never even been on your radar. But you were like, hey, okay, I'm getting a feeling about this. I have this like intuition that this is a good draw for where I'm meant to be. So I really, really give you so many kudos for actually following through with that. Because I think that's what a lot of people miss is like they feel it, but there's no follow through. And that's where people get stuck. So I love hearing that.
It's hard to make the first step. And this is where I really think being so young and put in situations where I was in front of crowds
Yeah.
and I just, had to perform. And if I
Right.
messed up, figure out how to fix it.
Right.
Right? I mean, I went from Maryland and drove across country, no family, barely any money in
Wow.
my account. I'll figure
hard.
it out. It is super hard and super scary. But what's scarier to me is to never have done it,
Right.
to not even know. That is scarier
Yeah.
to me. And I do think every decision I make might not be the right decision, but it takes me down a new path.
Yes.
It opens new doors for me. I almost don't think that any door ever closes. It's all
Yeah.
about just keep moving forward,
Right.
keep opening doors. I would say for me, the thing that I try to focus on more is the present.
Right.
Don't go so ahead, Jen, that
Right.
you're not also recognizing and
a good point.
celebrating the present and just
Yes.
being.
That's
the
so
part of
true.
me that I'm really trying to be more mindful of.
Do you listen to anything with Tony Robbins?
I have it. I mean, I probably a little things that have
Little here and there.
nothing. Yeah, a little here and there.
Like I've dibble dabbled in it, like nothing major. But that's one thing I know he says is that you have to stop and celebrate because if you don't, it just runs you over like a train. So I totally agree with you. It's like we are like women on a mission, but if you're just constantly like, what's next, what's next, what's next, and you don't celebrate where you've come from, yeah, it can get a little heavy and burnout can
It
just
is fulfilling.
yes.
You've never fulfilled. And
Yeah.
this is another thing I've been talking with a lot of leaders I've been coaching. They're overwhelmed. They have
Yeah.
so much on their plate. And so what they do is move faster. I just have to move faster to get it all done. And that's the exact opposite of what you need to do in this moment. We actually should slow down.
Slow
We
down.
need to pause, zoom out,
Yeah.
and really be strategic with our energy, our efforts, and our attention. because we can't do it all. And that stuff's going to keep coming.
So
So we
true.
have to be very intentional about what we're saying no to,
Yes.
what we're delegating and passing on. And then the things that we keep really need to be the things that we are the absolute best at. No one else
Yes.
can do it, even close to what I'm doing right now.
Yes. That is such a good point. Something that you mentioned that I think a lot of people struggle with is confidence. So, for you, why do you think that so many people are struggling with confidence at work from what you see?
Yeah. One of the things that I have seen is not being the expert.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all beginners a lot, right? I'm coming into a new organization. I might have experience as a leader, but I don't have a experience as a leader in this space.
Right.
So I need to be an expert. I need to know everything. I need to put my hands in everything. No, you
Sure.
don't.
Yeah.
You're in a leadership position, right? You are the guide. You need to understand the big picture. You need
Yeah.
to understand the current state. You don't need to know every single person's jobs. You
Right.
need to be a space where they can talk through things with you. You can help remove barriers and you give them the space to be able to do that. So expertise, not having the expertise, not having all the answers. I think people feel like they need that to be
Yeah.
confident. No, confidence
No.
is not having all the answers. It's not being the expert. It's being okay with saying no. Or
Yeah.
sorry, not no. Being okay with saying I don't know. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being okay with saying, well, I don't know, but I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
That's where the
I'll
confidence
figure it
comes
out.
in. That I
Yeah.
can figure it out, that I can talk to people, that I can even ask for help. That's
Yes.
confidence. I don't know. Can you
Absolutely.
help show me?
Yeah.
I don't have that answer. That's not my expertise, but I think that's your expertise.
Yes.
So I think it's being okay with not having all the answers, being okay with being a beginner and making mistakes. It is
Yeah.
not perfection. And I do think sometimes people equate confidence with being perfect
Yeah.
and
You're
knowing
so
everything.
right. Yeah, because I think, anything that's new feels unfamiliar. It does bring a lack of confidence. But you're right. The only thing that's going to make you feel better is having kind of that relentless pursuit of finding the answers. And so, I mean, I can think of many different times in my life where that rang true. Don't just kind of get paralyzed by the unknown. Go and figure it out. Be tenacious. Seek the
Yeah.
answers that you don't have already. So, one thing that you've mentioned is that leadership development used to be associated with like lunch and learns. But
Yeah.
what do people misunderstand about leadership training today? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, I still think it's kind of this big idea that I see in organizations I've worked with in the past that training, any kind of training is extra.
Yeah.
I don't have time for leadership development. You don't have time not to develop
Yeah.
yourself. Actually, if you invest in your development, it's going to save you time in
Sure.
the long run because you're going to be able to be more efficient at making decisions. You're going to have more effective and productive conflict or tough
Yeah.
conversations. It's going to save you so much time in the long run. So
Yeah.
this extra, instead of this actually needs to be integrated in my work.
Sure.
So that's, I think, something and that's where the lunch and learns kind of come into play. It's like this
Yeah.
extra thing. If I have time, I
Right.
can sit and have lunch and eat and absorb that information, and then I'm going to be better. That's the other misconception is I can just do that leadership development and I'll be better.
Yeah.
No, that's a foundation, right? When you work with a coach, when you go to a workshop, when you listen to a podcast, when you read a book, any of these resources out there, they set a foundation. It is
Sure.
up to you to make the magic happen.
Yes.
You need to apply it. So
Absolutely.
it really is you having an active role in your development and not waiting for someone to bring it to you.
Right.
Being an advocate for yourself to develop, not
Yes.
waiting for your leader to say, hey, why don't you take this opportunity? Go and find the opportunities. And if you're in a
Yes.
place where resources are strapped, because that happens, there's a lot of free stuff out there.
Yes.
I use
A
my
lot of resources.
library. I read a ton of professional and leadership development books that cost me nothing because I can get it in
Yes.
my library. There are free podcasts that you can listen to on a variety of different topics. There are free communities. There are free webinars out there that you can join as well. So I think that's the other piece is we get in our own way. There is no excuse for any person in any organization not to be investing in their own development. And it's a forever thing.
Yeah.
Never ends. And when we get in higher levels of leadership, we should be leaning more in
Right.
that development. It isn't, oh, I have this position. Now I'm a director. Now I'm a manager. Now I'm an executive. I'm done. I can
Yeah.
relax. No,
No.
right?
Keeps
You
going.
still have, we can always get a little bit better. It's this idea that you're a work in progress.
Sure.
You're all
Yes.
works in
Always a whip, right? A work in
Uh-huh.
progress.
Yes.
That is so true. It just seems like people think that they hit a certain point in life and that's where they just kind of like idle.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there's ever a time to idle. I don't care what it is that you're doing. I don't care if it's professional, personal, relationships, whatever it is. There's always room for growth. And it doesn't mean that we're not good enough. It just means that there's always something to learn. There's always a way to improve. We should give ourselves credit for the things that we are good at and the things that we achieve. But like, there is always growth to be had. And I like what you said about podcasts, resources. There's so many different things out there that
Yeah.
can truly help you to get that growth, even when it comes down to leadership, confidence, all of those things. I think what you're doing is great. So, one other thing I wanted to bring up is you've said you love helping people create a healthier relationship with time. Time is hard. We're busy. If you have
Oh.
kids, there's so much going on. So, what does that mean to you, and how do you help people with that?
Yeah, I often don't think we even think about that. Like, what is my relationship with time? Do I have a healthy relationship with time? Does it control me, or do I feel like I have control over it?
Yeah.
Do I wear busy like a badge of honor? Do I think of it as a friend or a foe
Sure.
most of the time? So these are the types of questions I dig into with people to understand
Sure.
where there are points where maybe they have a healthy relationship and where might they have an unhealthy relationship. And
Yeah.
I usually talk about two different mindsets we get into that can help us on either side. Do we have an abundance mindset where time is endless? Or
Yeah.
do we have a scarcity mindset where it is a
Mm.
scarce resource? Because when we think of it as a scarce resource, again, we start to speed up.
Yeah.
We go faster. We make more mistakes. We're in this high stress space versus time is endless. And it is really about being strategic with how I use it.
Right.
I have control over it.
That's huge.
So how do I lean more into that abundancy and then urgency and importance? Am I led by urgency where everything needs my immediate attention? If everything's urgent, nothing is urgent.
Yeah.
Everything can't be urgent. Even when you work in a setting like an emergency room, not everything is urgent. They triage things and they know which are the medical conditions that we need to stop what we're doing and take care of right now. And then what are the ones that we can delay?
Yes.
It's okay. They'll be okay. Right. So am I led by urgency where every notification, every email, I need to respond right away? Or am I taking that pause? Am I taking a step back to say, is this important? Is this aligned with my values, my
Yes.
purpose, our goals, the key performance indicators that we're driving?
Mm.
Because if it's not, then why am I focused on it? Or if it is
100%.
important, is it also urgent? Actually, no, it's not. I can schedule it for 2 days from now. I don't need to stop what I'm doing. So that's
Sure.
part of that relationship with time is how do I shift more into abundance? And
Right.
how do I shift more into leading with importance as I'm looking at
Yes.
my work instead of urgency?
That is so powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
what you
And
just said, everybody, more of that.
that's where it needs to start. There's tons of time management tools and habits and
Yeah.
strategies and all of those things I talk about, and they are important. It starts with mindset. You've got to shift your mindset if you want to sustain some
Yes.
kind of system or strategy. All of that comes second to your relationship with time and your mindset.
Girl, preach. I love that so much. So, if someone listening feels overwhelmed with work or responsibilities and leadership expectations, where should they start?
Yeah. So I would say here's my number one tip. This is
Okay.
the number one thing that
Number
I
one.
tell people to do that has helped me, and I see it help other leaders.
Okay.
Take 20 to 30 minutes once a week and have a planning meeting with yourself.
I love that.
This is a reoccurring thing I put on my calendar. I choose 8:30 Monday mornings.
Okay.
From 8:30 to 9 every Monday morning, it says planning time. And that is my time to pause and look at my week. What do I have going on this week? What are all the responsibilities I have? What don't I really need to be part of?
Right.
It could be an email, or it doesn't have to happen this week. I've got some other things that are becoming more of a priority. Can I reschedule this for next week or the week after? Or could it be 30 minutes? Or do I even have to be there?
Yeah.
Can someone on my team go? Or why are there four of us
Yeah.
going to this one meeting? One person could go instead.
Yes.
So it's really being thoughtful and deliberate about where you have your time. And then any white space I have,
Mhm.
block. I block for
Yes.
work. I block for thinking time. I'm going to review this. I'm going to do design work. I'm going to reach out to these 3 people I've been wanting to do.
That is so cool.
That, and some people like to do it on Fridays, Friday afternoon. I try to look couple weeks ahead too, so I can see, oop, I've got this deadline looming. I better block time on Friday to start this
Yes.
through or start working on this now. But that planning meeting, it is a deliberate pause, must do to map out the rest of your time, knowing that each day I might have to shift some things, but at least I have some structure to
Yes.
my week.
That is, woo. Should we all be able to do that, our lives would become so much more efficient. Because you're
Mhm.
right. It's like, I think everybody's just so like minute to minute. But if you take time, especially like what you said, the beginning of the week, to look forward, then that
Yeah.
is so helpful. And probably,
Yeah.
like you said, there's a lot of boundaries you can actually set with things that maybe
Yes.
don't make sense. You get time back for the things you should be spending your energy on, and maybe kind of push aside the things that don't. I love that. So please, everybody, really take that with a large grain of salt,
Mhm.
because I think that maybe that's what you guys do today. Maybe that is like, okay, this is my one small step. I'm going to start carving out that 30 minutes for myself. I'm going
Yeah.
to start doing that. I
Yeah.
am the queen of like, I swear, I'm self-diagnosing myself with ADHD, but like my brain is like a pinball. It's like bing, 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 but it's
Yeah.
hard to make sure that the most important things got finished, that I wasn't just opening a whole bunch of cans of worms and then not really
Mhm.
getting anywhere. So I love that idea. And I'm going to say, if this episode resonated with you and you're looking to build stronger leadership skills, reduce overwhelm, and create a more sustainable approach to work, you can connect with Jen through her leadership and coaching program. So can you tell everybody a little bit about how you could help like an individual versus a corporation?
Sure, sure. Well, I will say I have something coming up that
Ooh, tell
would be really helpful. I'm opening it to the public. I actually ran a cohort of this in January. It's a workload reset boot camp. So
Ooh,
3 days, an hour each day virtual. It's March 31st, April 1st, and April 2nd. And it is all about resetting your focus, your energy, your time. We get into the mindset stuff. We get into the relationship with time. We pick out targets and a vision for yourself as a leader. We get organized. So the planning meeting, that's just one of the things we talk about to really get organized. We use a model to help prioritize things. We talk through distraction techniques, like how do I manage all the distractions and notifications coming in, resiliency strategies, and then it ends with a 90-day sustainability plan. Now that we've
very
gone
cool.
through this whole thing, what are you going to do for the next 90 days to sustain this and get time back in your calendar so you don't feel so overloaded? And what's great about it
Cool.
is you partner up with somebody who becomes your success
Hmm.
partner for the 3 days. And I've talked
Right.
to people who continue to meet
Oh, I love
beyond
that.
that to help hold each other accountable. That's like one of the great feedback I've gotten from it. One woman told me I would not have survived this last week if it had not been for the boot camp. I'm delegating
Wow.
more. I'm able to manage things. My stress has gone down because of this.
Yes.
So that's a great opportunity, I think,
Oh,
to
yeah.
start off right. And then there's more in-depth programs I have. I have a coaching program, and we start with that. We really go into how do we navigate your workload, and then how do we build your confidence and presence as a leader, and then how do we build a high-performing team. That's more for the individual. And then I do team workshops. I'll go in,
Oh,
we'll do a half day, we'll do a full day session, either in person or virtually, working with a group on these kinds of things. Yeah.
that
So,
is incredible.
yeah. So there's a lot, and navigating your workload, managing your time, your effort, that's just one piece of it. There's so much to leadership.
Yeah.
I just think that's an important place to start.
Mm.
Get that right. Then we have space for creating a healthy culture of feedback, psychological safety and trust, having tough conversations. That's all within the realm of things that I will do with organizations as well.
That's amazing. Okay, so remind us again the dates of the upcoming workshop.
Yes, the workshop is March 31st, April 1st, and 2nd, and it's on
Perfect.
my website. And I have
Okay.
limited space. It's only
Okay.
for 20 leaders. I
Ooh,
try not to
okay.
make it too big. And the first cohort did fill out and sell out. So
Oh my gosh. Okay, so everybody, we're not going to sit on this. We're going to be the fire horse that we all have inside of us. And I'm going to link the URL to this workshop, your website, everything below so that people can jump on that. But if this resonated with you at all, if you're ready to gain more confidence, obviously learn how to be more efficient and have that growth that maybe you didn't realize you even needed until you heard from Jenn today, please look into it. I think it could be extremely valuable for everybody. And Jenn, I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing. Helping inspire and create growth in other people is like, the Lord's work. So thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate you. And thank you for your time here today.
thank you so much for having me. This was just such a fun conversation. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to keep up with what you've got going on. Everybody, I want you to look in the mirror today and say, girl, why not you? You could become the leader you've always wanted to be, and Jenn's just the gal to get you there. Have a great day, everybody. If something in this episode made you sit up a little straighter or dream a little bigger, don't ignore it. That's your future nudging you. I'm living proof that you can start messy, start scared, start in the worst timing, and still create something beautiful. Thank you for listening to Girl, Why Not You? Now go take one small step towards the life you've been craving. Hit subscribe, leave a review if you feel called, and share this with someone who's ready for more.